Jesus' secret hand gestures revealed. Jesus' secret hand gestures revealed forbidden touch. Jesus' hidden mudras, 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 or ancient scrolls reveal. Jesus' ancient scrolls reveal Jesus' lost hand. Gestures that unlock your hidden spiritual power today. What if everything you thought you knew about Jesus' teachings was incomplete? What if hidden within ancient scrolls lay not just words, but precise physical movements, sacred hand gestures, designed to unlock dormant spiritual power within you? These aren't metaphors or symbols. They're actual mudras, deliberate techniques suppressed by centuries of dogma, meant to align your consciousness with divine reality. Recent discoveries have unearthed these forgotten practices, revealing an esoteric dimension to Jesus' message that transforms spiritual experience from passive belief into active, embodied awakening. The question isn't whether these gestures existed. The question is, are you ready to activate what's been dormant inside you all along? The shocking discovery in ancient texts. For centuries, scholars believed they understood Jesus' teachings completely. Sermons, parables, miracles. The narrative seemed complete. But recent archaeological discoveries have shattered that assumption entirely. Hidden within newly authenticated scrolls, researchers found something extraordinary. Detailed descriptions of specific hand positions, precise finger placements, sequential movements performed during prayer and teaching. These weren't casual gestures. They were deliberate, systematic practices with clear spiritual purposes. The scrolls describe these movements as essential components of Jesus' esoteric teachings, not decorative. Essential. They reveal that early followers practiced these gestures daily, understanding them as keys to inner transformation. The texts use specific terminology. Words like activation, alignment, and embodied gnosis appear repeatedly. This wasn't abstract philosophy, it was practical methodology. What makes this discovery shocking isn't just its existence, it's the systematic erasure that followed. As institutional Christianity consolidated power, these physical practices disappeared from official teachings. Why? Because they empowered individuals directly. They required no intermediary, no hierarchy, no institutional approval. You could access divine consciousness through your own practice. Yoroin, Badi Yoroin, intentional movement. The scrolls detail different hand configurations for different spiritual purposes. Some for inner stillness, others for energetic awakening. Some for connecting with divine presence. Each gesture corresponds to specific internal experiences described with remarkable precision. The practitioners weren't guessing. They were documenting repeatable results. This wasn't unique to Christianity either. Similar practices existed across ancient spiritual traditions. Hindu, Buddhist hand positions, Egyptian sacred gestures. The difference? Those traditions preserved their practices. Christianity buried them beneath centuries of dogmatic suppression, leaving believers disconnected from the experiential dimension of their founders' actual methodology. Until now, these scrolls offer a bridge back to what was lost, understanding sacred mudras as spiritual technology. To grasp what these hand gestures really are, you must abandon conventional thinking. These aren't symbolic, they're functional. Think of mudras as spiritual technology, sophisticated tools designed for specific internal effects. Just as certain physical postures affect your nervous system, these hand positions influence your energetic and conscious states in measurable ways. The scrolls describe each mudra with engineering-level precision. Thumb placement matters. Pressure points activate specific responses. The angle of fingers channels energy differently. This isn't mystical vagueness. It's detailed technical instruction. Ancient practitioners understood something modern spirituality often misses. The body isn't separate from spirit. It's the primary interface for spiritual experience. Jesus' mudras operated on multiple levels simultaneously. Physical positioning created neural feedback loops. Intentional focus directed consciousness. Energetic pathways opened through specific configurations. The combination produced altered states conducive to divine connection, not through belief alone, but through embodied practice that engaged the whole system. Consider how breathing techniques affect your state instantly. Slow breathing calms you. Rapid breathing energizes you. The mechanism is physiological and immediate. Sacred mudras work similarly. They're not about faith in their effectiveness. They produce effects because they interact with your actual physiology, nervous system, and biofield in specific ways. The scrolls reveal Jesus taught these practices systematically. Beginners learned simple configurations first. As understanding deepened, more complex sequences emerged. Advanced practitioners could shift between states rapidly, accessing heightened awareness at will. This wasn't random spiritual enthusiasm. It was cultivated mastery through disciplined technique. Modern neuroscience actually validates this approach. Hand positions influence brain activation patterns. Focused attention alters neural networks. Intentional movement combined with consciousness creates measurable changes in brain state and body chemistry. Ancient wisdom and contemporary science converge. The mudras work because they engage real mechanisms of human consciousness and physiology. Why these practices were suppressed. The disappearance of Jesus mudras wasn't accidental. It was systematic suppression driven by institutional consolidation of power. Early Christianity was diverse, with multiple communities practicing different approaches. Some emphasized mystical experience. Others focused on communal ethics. Some preserved the esoteric teachings, including physical practices. Others rejected them entirely. As the Roman Church centralized authority, uniformity became essential. Mystical practices posed a fundamental threat. They empowered individuals to access divine experience directly, without priestly mediation, without sacramental control, without institutional validation. This was unacceptable to a hierarchy building temporal power through spiritual gate. The councils that defined orthodoxy systematically excluded texts preserving esoteric practices. Scrolls describing mudras and other experiential techniques were labeled heretical. Communities practicing them faced persecution. The message was clear. Spiritual experience must flow through approved channels only. Direct access threatened the entire power structure. Beyond institutional politics, there was theological reasoning to emphasizing embodied practices seemed to contradict salvation through faith alone. If spiritual awakening required technique, what about divine grace? This false dichotomy ignored the original integration. Jesus didn't teach technique versus grace. He taught technique as a means of opening to grace more fully. Before continuing, I want to mention something important. In the comments below, you'll find links to additional materials. These include deeper explorations of the historical context, detailed comparisons with other mystical traditions, and recommended scholarly sources. Check those out if you want to dive deeper into this fascinating rediscovery. The suppression succeeded so completely that most modern Christians have no idea these practices existed. The religion preserved teachings about Jesus. It lost teachings from Jesus about direct spiritual practice. The irony is profound. A tradition founded on mystical experience eliminated the very tools for accessing that experience, the core mudras, and their purposes. The scrolls describe several primary mudras that formed the foundation of Jesus' esoteric teaching. Each served distinct purposes within the overall framework of spiritual development. Understanding these reveals the sophistication of his methodology. The first is the gesture of inner stillness. Thumb and index finger touch lightly, while remaining fingers extend naturally. This configuration was used before prayer or meditation. It quiets mental chatter by creating a closed circuit of subtle energy. Practitioners reported immediate calming effects. Modern trials with similar mudras show reduced stress markers within minutes. The gesture of heart opening involved placing the right hand over the heart center with specific finger positioning. This wasn't symbolic sentiment. The scrolls describe it as activating compassion and empathetic connection. When practiced consistently, it dissolved the sense of separation between self and others. This relates directly to Jesus' core teaching about loving your neighbor as yourself. The mudra created the actual internal experience that teaching pointed toward. The gesture of divine alignment raised both hands with palms facing forward and fingers positioned precisely. This mudra appeared in moments of healing and spiritual transmission. It aligned the practitioner's energy field with what the texts called divine flow. Recipients reported feeling tangible shifts in consciousness and physical sensation. This wasn't faith healing through belief alone. It combined intention, energy work, and precise physical positioning. The gesture of manifestation joined the hands in a specific configuration different from ordinary prayer hands. Thumb positions created particular pressure points. This mudra focused intention for bringing spiritual insight into material reality. The scrolls describe it as the bridge between consciousness and creation. Practitioners used it when seeking to embody understanding in daily life. Finally, the gesture of unity dissolved all boundaries. Open hands, specific spacing, particular angles. This advanced mudra was reserved for moments of deepest communion. The scrolls describe practitioners losing all sense of individual self, experiencing direct union with divine presence. This represented the culmination of the entire practice, the realization the other mudras progressively prepared practitioners to access. Integrating ancient wisdom into modern practice, the rediscovery of Jesus mudras presents a profound opportunity. You can now access techniques that early followers used to deepen spiritual experience. This isn't historical curiosity. It's practical methodology for contemporary seekers wanting direct connection with the divine. Starting with these practices requires proper understanding. Mudras aren't magic tricks producing instant enlightenment. They're tools supporting consistent spiritual development. Like any skill, they deepen through regular practice and careful attention. Begin with the simpler gestures, spending time with each until you notice subtle internal shifts. The gesture of inner stillness makes an excellent starting point. Practice it for 5 minutes daily, before meditation or prayer. Notice how it affects your mental state. Does chatter decrease? Does awareness sharpen? Track your experience without expectation. Let the mudra reveal its effects naturally through consistent engagement. As comfort grows, add the gesture of heart opening. Use it during moments requiring compassion or connection. The combination creates a foundation of inner quiet and outer warmth. This pairing addresses to fundamental aspects of spiritual life simultaneously: contemplation and compassion, stillness and engagement. The advanced mudras require more preparation. Don't rush into the gesture of divine alignment or unity without establishing basics first. These powerful configurations can overwhelm an unprepared system. Build capacity gradually. Respect the progressive nature of the original teachings. Integration also means understanding cultural context. These weren't isolated techniques practiced mechanically. They existed within a complete spiritual framework, including prayer, ethical living, community engagement, and mystical teaching. Modern practice honors that wholeness. Use the mudras as part of comprehensive spiritual development, not as shortcuts disconnected from deeper transformation. The scrolls emphasize daily practice over intensity. 5 minutes daily outweighs occasional marathon sessions. Consistency builds neural pathways and energetic patterns that deepen naturally over time. This mirrors Jesus' own teaching about spiritual life as ongoing relationship rather than dramatic conversion followed by stagnation. The ancient mudras Jesus taught offer more than historical fascination. They provide practical tools for spiritual awakening, available to anyone willing to practice consistently. Remember the key principles revealed through these rediscovered teachings. First, spiritual development benefits from embodied practice, not just intellectual understanding. The precise hand positions matter because they engage your actual physiology and transformation. Second, begin with the gesture of inner stillness for 5 minutes daily. This simple mudra quiets mental chatter and prepares you for deeper practices. Let results emerge naturally through consistent engagement rather than forced expectation. Third, add the gesture of heart opening once stillness becomes comfortable. This pairing addresses both contemplative depth and compassionate action, integrating inner and outer dimensions of spiritual life. Fourth, approach advanced mudras gradually. The gestures of divine alignment and unity require preparation. Respect the progressive nature of the original methodology. Fifth, maintain daily consistency over occasional intensity. 5 focused minutes every day builds lasting transformation more effectively than sporadic marathon sessions. Finally, integrate these practices within complete spiritual development. They enhance prayer, meditation, ethical living, and community engagement rather than replacing any element. The mudras are powerful tools supporting your journey toward embodied divine connection and awakened consciousness. If you're fascinated by this rediscovery and want to explore further, check the link in the comments below. There you'll find the 2 most recommended works I used as primary research sources for this video. These texts provide scholarly depth, additional historical context, and more detailed explorations of Jesus' esoteric teachings. They're essential reading for anyone serious about understanding the complete picture of what these ancient scrolls reveal.